What's up, guys? Welcome to GIFD Lifestyle. Today is Friday, but Friday, like every day, is Rusev Day. We have WWE superstar Rusev, aka Miro, on here. Miro, first of all, it's still morning where you're at, so dobro otro, kaksi.
Hey, look at you. Your Bulgarian is fantastic. Аз съм добре, ти как си?
So he is. It's not a gimmick. He is Bulgarian. He's truly Bulgarian. That's Bulgarian we're speaking right now. I don't speak very much other than that, but thank you for being on, man. I really appreciate it. Basically, I just want to start talking about, you've done a transformation. You're getting in amazing shape right now. But
All right.
I had the chance to come out to Tennessee this past summer and hang out with you at your house and stuff with Seamus, my wife.
Mhm.
And your story was interesting. You know how you got into more or less kind of like a powerlifting training. Moved
All
in
right.
towards wrestling work with Rick Drazen. Why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
So let's see. The whole transfer. So I was always a big kid. I was born at 15 pounds, right? So I was
Wow.
always, yeah, yeah. I was a big baby. My mom gave me birth for like 3 days.
Oh man.
I'm sure it was not fun for her. Here I am, and I always been a big kid. Even when I was a kid, I eat. My mom tells me I used to eat my brother's meals all the time and stuff like that. So that's how I got super big. So all my life, I've been always on a heavier side, and but just nutrition overall in Bulgaria was I didn't know anything about nutrition, so all I knew is to eat bread and because that's what you eat in Bulgaria, you eat bread and beans and rice.
Right.
So protein, it's very like one is expensive, especially back when I grew up, and two is just not easy to get. I mean, it's not that it's not easy, it's just expensive by the end of the day. So all my life I've just been eating carbs. Um, what was the question? I
Oh,
started
just
to
so
remember.
how did you go from I was actually going to ask you if you were a big kid to begin with because
Yes.
the first time when we went to the gym and worked out I was like, damn, this dude's strong, and it was like you weren't even trying. You were like, I was like, he's really strong, but I was like, I didn't know if you'd always been like that or if it was just like you progressed to get stronger, so you were always just a big kid like your whole life.
Always, yeah. So I started working out at 14. Even though I played many sports before that, I was always into sports, but actual like weightlifting. I remember, I think it was 13 or 14, and me, a couple of my friends decided to start working out, and we started just trying to mess around and trying to figure out what to do because it's just the whole gym was a side of a probably like I don't know, like a living room. That's about it. It was like a student, like a little gym, and we worked out there. But again, no nutrition. We didn't know what we were doing. We were watching Dorian Yates, I think, video. Then
The
what was
blood
it
and
called?
guts.
Blood and
Blood and
Guts.
guts,
Yeah.
yeah.
After that, we moved on to Ronnie Coleman and all that, of course.
Did
But
your
yeah, that's
body
how.
respond it right away at first?
Did he respond? I don't know if he did. I don't know if he did because even though I worked out again, shh, Joy. Our neighbor's got two dogs all of a sudden. Now she's all sorry.
No worries.
Um, so yeah, I don't think I responded right away because I didn't know what to eat. I was just eating anything and everything, and I had no idea about nutrition, recovery, or whatsoever. So I was just working out and eating. But then I started rowing. So I started rowing when I was like 10th grade or ninth grade, whatever that was. And the summer before that, I went from short and fat to taller and more slimmer. I don't know if it was puberty, I don't know what it was, or all the sports that I've been playing, and all of a sudden, over one summer, just caught up to me type of
Yeah.
deal. Started rowing, and then I wanted to keep working out, but my trainer was like, "No, you're a rower. You can't push. You can only pull." So I would go to the gym and do back 3 times a week.
Which is why you have such a big back now. I mean, your back's wide and thick.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was way wider back then, and I would do probably anywhere between 30 and 40 sets.
Wow.
Because I heard, more is more. You should do a lot, and there's only these machines, and I would just do 40 sets in heavy 3 times a week, and my back just exploded. It just went. Woof. Um, but again, I didn't know anything about nutrition, so any gain I did was just because I was working out hard. That's
Right.
about it.
So like newbie gains.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, absolutely. But again, my bench press, I couldn't even bench probably 180 pounds
Really.
because I never benched. I was not allowed to bench. So my back, I was killing everything. But it's very embarrassing when you're young in Bulgaria. You see all your, idols or whatnot in the gym, and you bench 180 pounds. Really, really embarrassed. And that's the ego
Right.
of the bench press that you have to have a high bench press. But yeah, it just never got what it could have been. But from there, I graduated, sports school, graduated that, and then I just dedicated to weightlifting. I'm done with rowing now. I don't have to be certain weight, and I just over like 3 month period, I went from 245 pounds to 315 pounds.
Holy shit. And were you still the same type of conditioning, or was it a lot of fat, a lot of water, or you
Oh,
just
it
kept
was a lot.
growing?
So I tried out different things, different diets, and all of a sudden it just blew up. Even
Right.
my friend picked me up in two separate weeks, and he was like, "What is going on with you? You just like blowing up like a balloon." And that's what it was. I just like all of a sudden like blew up, and it was some was good, some was bad. I had but still plenty of fat. But I just thought that's who I am. I didn't know anything again about dieting or anything, so I just keep eating what I can and keep getting bigger and bigger. And finally, I never even considered anything about losing weight or cutting weight. I always thought after I came to the States, right, and I kind of figured out I know what I'm doing. I gotta eat protein, a lot of it, and work out, and I'll be good.
Yeah.
But boy, was I wrong. That is definitely not the way to go. So I was trying to, I would watch the Ronnie Coleman video and I was like, okay, he's eating this, this, this. I'll do the same thing. But little do you know, he's a professional bodybuilder.
Right.
We do a lot of, exercise and
Right.
different calories. While here I am, taxi driver, staying in a taxi all day, uh, burning probably whatever, just like an hour in the gym or hour and a half. That's about it. And it did not end well. I keep gaining weight, but I was gaining weight, but because of my diet was somewhat cleaner than it used to be in Bulgaria, because now I can afford a little bit better stuff because I'm in America. I was putting muscle at the
Yeah.
same time, so it wasn't all junk that I was putting on. And then it wasn't until even when I went to developmental with WWE, I got signed 2010. I was 315 pounds probably, and someone in a good shape. I'm sure you can find a picture somewhere of my first photo shoot in FCW. Uh, or I'll send you some pictures
Well, I
you'll
saw some
see.
pictures when you first were training out with Rick Drazen, and you were big. I don't know what you weighed. The thing you
Yeah,
showed me that picture when I was out there, I was like, "Holy shit, you were big."
yeah, there was about, yeah, over 300 easy.
And what do you weigh now, Rick? You're 240 now.
I am 247.
247, right? So you were like
It
almost 50
was,
pounds heavier then.
yes, yes, it was a lot. But at the same time, I never felt bad about it, like carrying the weight around because I was always a big kid.
Right.
And I was always playing sports, and I never let any kid that is 100 pounds skinny to me is going to beat me in anything just because no, I'm the best at anything I do.
Right.
So I would go extra mile just to keep up with these little guys because that's what I have to do. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And I did successfully through developmental. I was hanging out with all the little kids. I was out bumping them, out running them, just because I know that's who I am. I'm an athlete. I want to beat anybody that's against me. And it wasn't now. Actually, it's very funny. I saw my app, that I use for nutrition, the MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
First opened it, I guess it showed my progress when I first got the app, which was, let's see, which was Wednesday, May 28, 2014. I guess that's when I decided, you know what, I want to get in shape. And I remember vividly sitting with, it was me, my wife, and Pam, which is, what's her name in WWE? Bailey. We just met her very randomly at Denny's. And I was eating like 10 egg whites and something else. And Pam, Bailey looked at me like, what are you eating? And I'm like, I'm just trying to get in. I'm going to try to get in shape. She's
Yeah.
like, why? You look great. I'm like, I don't look great. I saw pictures and I mean, I have the shoulders, I have the build. It's just, I don't want to look like that anymore. She's like, oh, great. Kudos to you. And from there, the road just started. And again, I had no help. I was just trying to figure out all on my own because, I'm a man. I know everything. I can read about it and I'll be fine. But again, I was so wrong. I didn't know anything about cardio. I was working out hard, but nothing about cardio, nothing about carbs, because carbs, I need carbs.
Right.
From there, at one point, I think I went down uh, to 290, maybe 285, 290, 295 probably. I was definitely looking better,
Yeah.
but then I was stuck. And then I heard about this keto stuff, right? Like, whoa, this is it. This is the one. So I started doing the keto, and it worked for me. Definitely worked for me. I started getting in better shape. But then at some point, like, I thought I was looking like skinny fat, which I did not like.
It's a
Uh,
flat, like they call it flat. Like you're kind of
yes.
deflated. When you eat some carbs, you fill back out and you look like harder, vascular, and full. But when you flatten out, you look smaller and weaker. And yeah,
Yeah, and that's what I did. And I was sworn enemy against carbs. Carbs are the worst. I would never eat carbs again. And it sucked because even if I want to, when you're in a keto, one little thing can throw you out and
yeah,
then you got to fight back to get back in. And it's the worst because even if I want to say, oh, okay, I can't even try anything off my wife's plate because it's just out of my league. I can't do that because I don't want to ruin my diet. So it was bad, but I still keep fighting against it. I was watching a lot of YouTube stuff over people who do keto and they swear by it. And it was great. I was doing it for a long time. I got a nutritionist, whatever his name was. He was keeping me on the keto. Um, and I was somewhat getting in better shape, but it was not the shape that I wanted.
right.
So I was crying for a change. And finally I got, to Mr. Jerry here. And no, first actually there was a guy in the gym. He's like, dude, you gotta try this. Eat carbs every day. Eat rice for 7 days and see how you look. I'm like, really? Carbs, rice? I'm like, cool. I tried it and I was like, whoa, what is happening?
As your body filled up, and as it filled up, the skin got tighter and vascularity. You
Yes.
got a pump again. You look round. Yeah, life gets breathed back into the physique again. Yeah,
Yes. And I was like, whoa. And I love rice. I grew up eating rice. And now I want to know more. And that's why I talked to Seamus. He said he's working with Jerry, with you. And I was like, I'll reach out. Then after I talked to you and you gave me and now you started explaining me about the macros, about when to do it, why to do it, and what are we doing it for, then my mind just got opened up and exploded. And I went, even in the keto, I was what, 275. And over the period over this summer, they've been working out with you. I am down to 247. So,
I mean even this week you were on Raw in a t-shirt, and
right.
I always say it's okay. It's easy to look good in a t-shirt, but to look fit in a t-shirt, it's hard
Mm,
because you got to have the roundness, the fullness. Everything has to look good when you're
right.
naked. You'll be able to look good in a t-shirt like that. And you came out, and I said, "Damn, he looks fit in a t-shirt." Like there
Yeah.
we go. Like that's awesome, man. I was so happy, man. I'm like, and my wife is like, "But he's got a shirt on." I'm like, "It doesn't matter." I'm like, "You don't understand. Like, if you have a
Right.
shirt on, you look fit. When you have your shirt off, you look even more fit." You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
that's props to you, man. You're doing a great job. You're working your ass off, and it shows.
I mean, I've always been working out. It's just that once you give me the direction, how to do it right and apply the right things, then when it all falls together, it's just very easy when you're on the right path, as long as you follow it. And I'm not saying it's easy by any means, because you
Yeah,
still gotta, you told me you gotta wake up, do your morning cardio, that boosts your metabolism. Then you go home, wait 30 minutes, eat your meal. Then eventually you go back, work out. You're gonna spike your metabolism again, and it's all this
yeah,
up and down, which makes perfect sense. And then after workout, do another cardio session. So I'm not saying it's easy by any means. You
yeah.
got to put in work, but it works at the end of the day. I don't care about the work as long as you show me results.
Right.
But that's the thing, that with keto, I was doing all this and I wasn't seeing the same results. And once I got professional advice and the carbs and everything fell through, it's just boom,
Yeah.
explode.
Once you have everything set, I mean, the changes happen pretty fast. And, most of the foods that we've been using are pretty much the clean foods, the bro foods, they call them. But yesterday you said, hey, have you seen that show, that neck documentary, Game Changers? And I kept hearing about
Yeah,
it. And I haven't had
yeah,
time, but I was like, well, if we're going to talk about it, that forced me to sit down and watch it, so I got to watch it.
yes.
So I watched like half of it last night. I fell asleep, and I got up today and finished it. So after watching Game Changers, right, what did you
Mm.
think? Like, what ran through your mind when you were done with it? Were you like, wow,
I
you know what?
mean,
Maybe this is a direction to go, or
yeah, it definitely got me curious. It definitely 100%, especially when they were doing the tests with the blood and the plasma after, a meal with meat against meal with no meat. That made me like, whoa. And then Arnold signed up on top of it, which I
right?
know we all idolize Arnold, and I'm sure he got paid for that movie. He didn't do it for free. But at the same time, it's got to be somewhat of a truth. And when
Right.
you think about it, it's true. The animals do eat the grass, and they're the middleman and all that. And to be honest, sometimes I just can't eat anymore. Like it's just chicken. I can't eat chicken anymore. I'm just so over it. Like that's why I have to put it in a blender, make it ground so I can,
Right.
cook it that way. It's just, and sometimes it just gets tiring. It gets you thinking. It definitely got me thinking.
Right. I mean, I stopped eating pork about, oh man, it's been a good 7 or 8 years because I actually had an English bulldog named Bruno, and I went to
Mm,
this like it was like a fair that they had, and the pigs were there, and I was playing with the pigs, and I realized that pig reminds me a lot of my dog. Like he looks
mm,
like him, he snorts like him, he sits like him, and I was like, then I couldn't eat him anymore. I just couldn't do it. So it's not
right.
that I'm not vegan. I'm not against, vegans. I'm not against eating meat. I'm
Mm,
like, I watched it, and there were definitely some new things in there that kind of made me think the same thing. Like it was just some different stuff. There was some old stuff in there, where,
right.
animal proteins can be harmful. The one thing that I thought, they did have some propaganda in there, which I thought was interesting because they showed those vials of blood they took from the athletes, and one
Right.
vial was from a meat meal, and the other one was from a plant-based meal. Right now,
Right.
the meat meal had saturated fats in it, which was the animal fats. The
Hmm.
plant-based one, I guarantee, did not have the same fats in it. Now the thing is, what coconut oil is. Everybody knows what coconut oil is. Well, the coconut oil studies were done with a specific type of custom-made oil that you can't even buy in the market. It's too expensive. Real coconut oil is like 85% saturated fat. So my thing
Hmm.
is, why not add some coconut oil to that meal, then show the results of it because that would be saturated fat, and I bet you that would show up in those vials the same way. So I think even
Hmm.
on the plant-based, you still have to be careful of what you're taking in to not have the
Yep.
same ill effects as because the coconut oil has been like this big fad for like 10 years now or something like that. And just recently, people have started to realize that it wasn't the actual oil that you're buying at the store that they did the studies with. So they're having a
Hmm.
placebo effects where they're saying, "Oh, I feel better, and it did this, and it cured my hair and my baldness." And like you're like, "How the hell did coconut?" I rubbed coconut oil on my head, and my hair grew back, and
Mm.
so there's definitely some stuff in there. And but I like how they did go into explanation because I've always said that the difference between animal based and plant based is the saturated fat. So if you remove the
Hmm.
saturated fat, it should have the same effect. Like if you only ate egg whites, there's no saturated fat in that, so it
Right.
wouldn't have the same effect. But they actually talked about the proteins themselves being different and affecting the
Mm.
body different, which I thought was pretty interesting too.
Mm.
The other one was where they measured the dude's erections overnight.
All right.
And I'm like, at the end of it, the guy says, "Well, this is not a scientific study. It's just interesting." But he was wearing a lab coat. He was a doctor. The way they showed the
Right.
graphs, it portrayed it like it was a scientific study, even though it wasn't, which means there
Hmm.
could have been variables all over the place that weren't controlled, which would lead
Right.
people to believe by watching the show that, oh, this really happened. It's scientific. It's ironclad. But realistically, it was just presented that way, even though it wasn't. So we don't really know exactly how that
So
really
you
panned
think
out.
there's something happened between the time they ate the meal, by the time they shot the thing, there's something in between they were missing?
No idea. I mean, also it's like one meal. One meal made that big of a difference. I mean, even if you're trying to lose fat, if you have one diet meal and have the rest of your meals for the rest of the week, not diet meals, you're not going to get lean from one meal. Just like if you
Hmm.
have a cheat meal, you're not going to get fat from one cheat meal. But you're trying to tell
We
me
talked
one meal
about
with
swinging
them. Well, it
time.
depends on how big that meal is, right? The meal lasts all day, maybe, so I'm like, how did one meal affect the body so much like that? But
Yeah.
it doesn't affect the body other ways. I mean, they could be completely on point. I don't know. It's just a question
Mhm.
that I have that I like to sit down with like a doctor or a scientist and ask so they can explain it. I'm the what if guy or the how, why, how.
Yeah.
I'm always asking how and why. And but again, I'm not against vegan, and I have this thing with animals where I do have a hard time eating them. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I love my dog. I would never eat my dog. I
Yeah.
see stuff with cows and how they're treated, and I'm like, oh, I don't approve of that. But then I eat a
Yeah.
hamburger. I still like hamburgers, so it's like,
Yeah.
I get it. So as far as that, would that be something you wanted to kind of check into, like a plant based stuff?
I definitely want to try it. I don't know if it's going to be like a week at a time and see how, or a day at a time. I don't even know, but there's like, I don't have any urge to eat meat anymore. Like, I love steaks, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I will eat steak any day. Um, but even when I did my checkups, which was like 6 months ago or whatnot, and as healthy as I am, my cholesterol was elevated,
Hmm.
which like really surprised me because it was like, whoa, like I don't even eat that much red meat to begin with. Like, why is my cholesterol high? Um, I think my iron was even low, even though I eat meat. I don't know. There was something weird going on. It was like, oh, well, that's very interesting. So I started taking iron pills, of
Hmm.
course. But yeah, the meat is definitely something that I can. But the thing is that I have never even tried like any plant-based stuff. I don't even know what it tastes like.
So
I don't even know what nutrition is. So last night
right,
I Googled uh, a real chicken or whatever they call it, and it's pretty much nutrition doesn't look bad. It
yeah.
has a lot of protein, very little carbs. So it's not like I don't know how it tastes. Have you tried it?
So there's a few that I have tried. Now, if you watch that documentary, The Game Changers, they had that NFL player's wife. She was a professional chef cooking that food.
Right,
Now,
right.
I
Lieutenant,
guarantee you that
she,
stuff we would be like, oh, this is great. We'd be able to live off that stuff forever. But realistically, I'm not a chef. I don't really know how to do that stuff. But my ex
mm,
girlfriend from like when I was like 20, her mother was a vegetarian. So I go to their
mm,
house for Thanksgiving and she made a vegetarian turkey. And I was
mm,
like, what the hell? I'm like, oh, this is going to be terrible. It was great. I mean,
yeah.
it didn't scream turkey at me, but it wasn't
Hmm.
like it was disgusting. Just like I tried that Impossible Whopper from Burger King. Now
Okay.
it like they kept saying we can't tell the difference, and the advertisements like it's exactly the same. So I went and I bought it, and I hadn't had a Whopper in probably like 2 years, and I bit
Mm,
into this burger, and although it was good, but it tastes more like sausage than beef, but it didn't just
okay.
taste like a Whopper. So it's like I was expecting a Whopper, so in my head when I bit into it, it was like like the steaks at home, and your wife
Yeah.
eats it, and you come home, and you're left with chicken. You're like, I don't want the chicken. Like you just don't want it. I think that's
Yeah.
what happens. So I think I need to go in with an open mind again and try the Impossible Whopper again and say,
Right.
okay, it's not going to taste like a Whopper. Let's just see how it tastes in general,
Mm-hmm.
and give it a shot. But like that stuff is more fast food, so that's not really better for you than eating a regular
Right.
Whopper. But it is plant based, so it gives people the opportunity. Like if you're vegan and your husband's not, you can go out
Yeah.
and she could have the Impossible Whopper because there's actually a lady there that was telling me about that. I was interviewing people just walking around Burger King asking them questions. They must have thought I was a nutcase. But the one
Huh.
lady was vegan. She said, I haven't been to a restaurant with my husband where I could actually eat something for like
Mm-hmm.
10 years. She goes, but now I can come here on Sunday with him. He has his Whopper and I have my Impossible Whopper. And, it opens up like a whole new dynamic for us to get out
Yeah.
there and, be family. And I was like, well, that's great. So, I mean,
And also all the athletes that were on the video,
yeah.
the Olympic athletes, weightlifters, cyclers, whoever was on there. So there's got to be something to it. It can't be just they're making stuff up. I mean, the lady, the cyclist, she was 39 years old.
Right.
The
And you,
guy, the UFC guy, he did the ropes for over an
an
hour.
hour, which is insane. I mean, you've tried
I'm
battle
okay.
ropes before, right? I mean, I could do them for
Huh?
like I could do battle ropes for like 2 minutes, like an hour. He
Yeah.
did them for an hour, and he was like, he just
And-
kept looking at the clock, and he was like, oh,
Yeah.
45 minutes, I'll keep going. I was like, I've never seen
Yeah.
anything like that in my life. I mean, Tom
So,
Brady does the same type of thing now. He's on a very plant-based diet, and he's
oh,
41 years old, playing longer
right.
than any quarterback ever has, and he attributes a lot of it to his diet. You know,
Yeah. Do you think with the macros that I have now, we can adjust it on a plant-based diet and keep doing the same?
there is, but I do think that a lot of the protein, if you're keeping like a lower carb day as opposed to a higher protein day, I feel like you
Mm.
have to use some supplements in there. It's very hard to eat the plants and stuff to get the protein you need without having the carbs. So you have a plant-based protein, which I use the Ambrosia's. I forget the name of it, but I use the Ambrosia one, which is French maple toast, maple French
Okay.
toast, which is great. I'll throw that
Hmm.
one in oatmeal, stir it up, and there that way there I hit my carbs and my protein, and it's all plant based together.
Yeah.
And it's also
Yeah.
complete protein because it blends a couple different plant based proteins together. But one
Hmm.
thing that I do feel is like you said, like those people can't be lying. But I definitely feel like nowadays, just as human beings, our ethnic backgrounds and everything are so blended together that there's different pieces of genetics and epigenetics being blended. So I do think that some people respond great to the plant based, others
True.
not. Because I've worked with vegans before, and they kept getting injured over and over again. And then when they
Hmm.
stopped the vegan diet, which they actually went to the doctor, and even though they were supplementing vitamins, they were doing everything they were supposed to do, their body for some reason was chewing up these vitamins and minerals faster than it should have been. When the
Hmm.
doctor switched them back over to eating meat, like one guy, he went crazy and did 4 hamburgers in a day, which was, he was so happy to be eating burgers again, but his body started healing. So I'm like, I think
Hmm.
that it depends on the person, but the thing is, you don't know until you try. Like, there's no test to tell whether or not meat would work for you. Like, they were talking about, well, our teeth are like very flat for like, well,
Yeah.
I have fangs. I don't know where those came from if I'm supposed to only, you know what I mean? So it's like, where did the fangs come from? I didn't have to chase down an
Right.
apple and kill it. You know
You
what I mean?
from Romania or something where the vampires are.
What's his name? Gangrel. I'll be the new Gangrel.
Yeah. Yes.
So like there's but that's my genetics, like maybe, my wife, she doesn't have those fangs. Like I have them on the top and the bottom. Like I look like a
Yeah.
werewolf, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that would be indicative of somebody who would eat meat. But
Hmm.
if they're saying we're not supposed to, then where do my teeth come from? It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. So I think that like the blending over time of the genetics and stuff, depending on where you lived in the world, if there was very scarce animals around and you didn't have much animals, I think they lived on a lot of plants there. And I think that where there was plenty of animal stuff, I think they hunted and ate those animals. There's the other guy that was talking about how the animals like see a certain way. Like I thought that was interesting too. Like we see color so we can find fresh ripe fruit out in the wild,
Right.
whereas animals don't. And I thought that was kind of
Yep.
interesting too. I never made that jump before myself.
Say what?
I never made that jump before myself. Like I never thought about like when we see color. I also
Right.
think we see color because we have other things going on. It's not just to find
Right.
fruit, but
Yeah.
it very well could be. So overall, when I was done watching, I went, because people are dogging that documentary. They're saying bad things about it. Saying it's all bullshit. It's all this. I'm like, well, it's only bullshit if you can prove it wrong. I mean, right
Right.
now we really can't prove any of those things wrong because there's data saying
Right.
this, there's data saying this. I mean, if you find one thing that says it's good, you find another that says it's bad.
Yeah. But
So
also the worst thing about this, can we pause for a second?
yeah,
I think somebody was at the door. Sorry, just
yeah.
1 second.
All right.
Okay, sorry.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, so we were talking about the documentary still.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
The document. Oh, so also, but it's none of it's a bad thing. Like, who cares? Like, that's what I understand. People like bashing on it, blah blah blah. I mean, what is the bad thing? It's not like I'm asking to murder somebody. Just instead of eating cows, I'm going to eat plants. And if I'm happy with it, then I'll be happy with it.
Right. Well, I
You
mean,
know?
now that you're getting into more of the fitness, before you were just like power building. Now you're getting into more of the fitness, and you're learning a lot of stuff. You're learning that people are emotionally attached to their foods. So people that like you said, I love steak. I'll eat steak all day long, but you're not emotionally attached to it. Some
No.
people are so like, well, this is my steak. You can't have it. So when you start telling them stuff like steak might not be good for you, they go, oh, they don't want to give it up. We've seen
Yeah.
that with like Pop-Tarts was a big thing, for bodybuilding for a while. They would eat them after workouts. And people would say,
Really?
well, why don't you, instead of Pop-Tarts, you have that one little Pop-Tart, why not have like a big bowl of oatmeal? It's the same amount of carbs, but you get more food, right? Because they're complaining they're hungry, but they want to eat the Pop-Tart, and they'd be like, no, Pop-Tart. And they would like Pop-Tarts are some kind of magical weapon in bodybuilding. But realistically, they wanted to keep eating it. And I get that. Like I had a problem with Diet Coke of all things. There was a point where I was drinking like a gallon of Diet Coke a day. I wasn't even drinking water. And I realized, dude, all I'm drinking is Diet Coke. And like if I went somewhere, I couldn't have a meal without it. Like I was like emotionally attached to friggin' Diet Coke of all things, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're
yeah.
seeing that now, and that's what it is. They're really, people. Let's say 100%. Just for the hell of it, that plant based is right, and it's bad to eat meat. It's going to be harmful for you long term. People are not going to accept that, so they're going to attack everything that's going on with the plant based rather than just being okay. You do your thing, I'll do mine. They don't want to feel
Right.
like they're doing something wrong for the health. They want to feel like they're making the right decision, even though they may not be. So they just attack them, and that's where the whole thing, people wind up banging heads.
Right. So I'm really emotionally attached to Diet Coke myself. Nobody's taking that. Joy, put that shoe down. I'm right here.
It's not the easiest, is it?
No, 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 no. It's my wife's shoe, so I'm not too mad about it. It's her fault. She leaves them all over the place. Anyways, yeah, so I really love Diet Coke. I mean, the Coke Zero.
Yeah.
But I started buying the little, like a little cans or whatnot, and I'll have one at night or two or whatever it is, so I wouldn't just like indulge it.
Right.
But when I was in Bulgaria, I would drink regular Coke like 7 a day.
Yeah.
And because I didn't know better.
Right.
I don't know about Diet Coke, so I was just drinking all the sugar. But we'll change to sugar in a second. Also, on the documentary, all the stats about the animals, the filthy, how one burger costs 1 million or liters of water or something like that because, you got to feed the cows, you got to do
Right.
this, you got to do that, blah, blah, blah. And how damaging all this industry is to the earth is the other thing that just blew my mind.
Yeah.
It's the pollution from animal products and everything, the production or whatnot, it's way worse than cars and all these other things. But nobody talks about that
No,
because,
if you're not in the industry, you don't know about it. If you're in that industry,
yes,
you probably know about it, but they hide it just like every other industry. Like in bodybuilding, it's very well known, in bodybuilding that everybody uses those bodybuilding drugs. But there's people
right.
out there in the common, they just look at it and they have no idea. Like, wow, look at that guy. Like, dude, he's 330 pounds ripped. Like, you
Yeah.
don't think that, and they don't understand because it's like, it's not in the industry like that.
And that's why it gets me thinking, and then gets me to the other subject, which is another documentary that I watched. It's on Netflix. Something about it was about the sugar industry.
We saw
You
that
know what
one
I'm
too.
talking?
Yeah. Yep. I've
You
seen. I
saw
don't remember
that?
the name of it. Yeah, we saw it when it first came out.
And that got me so mad, just like, ooh boy, it got me really boiling because, and it's true when you think about it, when you look at everything at the back of the label, everything has added
Yeah.
sugar, and it's all just sugar, and I'm not, and it's so bad, and since you're a kid, you've been just fat sugar, 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 and it's such a poison that, and it's so cheap. And then the trick when they told them, oh, you need to release a fat-free or less fat, and then they bring the
Loaded
fat
it with
in, they
sugar.
sugar,
Yep.
and people are like, oh, well, this says less fat. That means it's healthy,
Yep.
brother. Like, and
You-
I understand you gotta educate yourself,
right.
but if you have family, you have kids, you have to educate them for the future. You know, you can't just be, hey, just do your thing and eat bowls of cereal and drink orange juice, which I don't even know how this thing is called orange juice to begin with. It's sugar juice with freaking some color or whatnot. I mean, and that's why, like, even I had a dietitian back in the day was like, oh, in the morning when you wake up, you should drink orange juice. And I'm like, what? Why do I have to drink sugar? Like, I couldn't understand that. And from there, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna move on to something else.
I mean, you've traveled the world with WWE, and you're from Bulgaria, so you've been other places in America. So you've seen that the foods, not, first of all, don't taste the same in other countries. They don't
Oh,
look the same. You can eat
yeah,
more of them and not gain fat. Like, and
yeah,
there's a lot. There's a big thing in America where, and specifically in America, where they love to argue about all calories are the same. The calories in, calories out, calories a calorie. Doesn't matter
mhm,
whether you have sugar or this or whatever. And I realize on a chemical, technical, biological level that may be true, but
mhm,
everybody's body is different. There are
right.
people that are going to be able to eat sugar that will have no problems. There are people that eat a little bit of sugar that will be severely overweight, get diabetes. I think that
Yeah.
realistically, they don't look at it as, we need to figure out as an individual what works for us as individuals and not just like a
Hmm.
blanket statement, saying, well, this is bad, that's good. We have people
Yeah.
saying, well, this is okay to eat. Well, that person can't eat it because as soon as they eat it, they lose control because sugar can act like a drug in some people.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, you go through detoxes. I mean, it's crazy what goes on with sugar sometimes. But other people, they're fine. So it's like I think by case basis, you need to figure it out. But if you read a bunch of literature, it'll say sugar's bad and can cause heart disease just as much as fat. You read another literature saying, oh nope, it's fine and everything's okay. I
Mm.
look at it as like you're exactly right. Like they pulled all the fat, increased all the sugar, and as soon
Yeah.
as they did that, if you overlap the graphs, which I've actually done in some of my videos on YouTube, you can see the spike in type 2 diabetes. You can see the
Hmm.
spike in heart disease. And that was when they dropped the fats. The only thing
Hmm.
difference, they added like high fructose corn syrup and all these other things that, technically we can put them in our body, but doesn't mean we should put them in our body. Just because we
Yes.
can. I mean, we can put cyanide in our body a little bit.
Yeah.
It will live,
Yeah.
right? Doesn't mean that we want to go take a bunch of cyanide and see what happens.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting stuff, and there's always like a back and forth argument. In
Yeah.
I always go, hey man, you figure out what you think is logical for you, then
Yeah.
try it. Experiment, try it. Like you tried keto, you tried eating carbs. You may try the
Right.
plant based. Eventually, you're going to figure those things out with what works for you. And then I try to explain to people, don't listen to what everybody else is saying. If you found
Hmm.
something that works for you, it's like a combination. When you turn the combination on the lock, it opens. Once you've
Yeah.
opened that lock, you don't need to keep finding a combination anymore. So
Right.
like I'd be really interested to hear how you think of the plant-based diet, especially if you go to like Whole Foods and stuff now. They have plant-based stuff that is you
Yeah.
really can't tell the difference from the real thing.
Well, the problem with this is you're gonna have to set up what I'm gonna eat.
I might,
Because I
I've been
mean,
playing with the plant-based, so I might be heading down that. Aaron and I have talked about it before. We said we wouldn't fight it if we decided to want to go vegan. Wouldn't be like, oh, I'm not doing that. And
yeah.
more, we kind of are looking into different plant-based options and stuff. So before long, you might see me going, hey, I found the perfect, this, that, or
Great.
the other thing to figure it out.
I mean, I already ordered the pea protein.
The Gemma pea
So
protein.
that's a plant-based, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like even if I start with, let's say, once a day, I mean, once a week, and that's what even Arnold said, just try once a week. You don't have to go cold turkey right away. So we can try, I can probably try Sunday, see how I feel, and just go from there or whatnot. But I would definitely gonna be exploring the option of starting with a day.
Hmm.
And I don't even mind if it's like this Sunday or next Sunday or whatever it is, because I want to figure out, is it working for me? Do I like it?
Yeah.
And I want to actually get like my physicals, like my blood work and all that, and then go back, after I decided to do it for like a week or two and see what happens. I really want to figure this whole situation out because if I figure it out, I can tell my friends and they can try it out
Yeah.
and somebody else can. And as you say, they might not work for them, but great. If it doesn't work for you, keep doing what you're doing. I'm not
Yeah.
saying do my thing, but if I can help somebody or you or anybody else, then why not? You
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely. It's definitely something that nowadays the plant, like if this was 15 years ago, you wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
find the foods plant-based that we have now. So it's definitely a good time to be living in that. And I actually did a one full day of vegan eating. This was like probably 2014 or 15. And I went to Whole Foods and I bought all these things at Whole Foods. And I made the mistake of buying all these like fast food dinners that were vegan. And I
Mm.
came home and I ate like 6 meals that day of all vegan stuff. And I was like, by the end of the day, I was like, this stuff is gross because I was buying all this like fast food cheap. Like I didn't know the difference. I didn't understand that. Like now they have the Impossible Burgers and
Right.
Beyond Meat, and they have all I learned about zucchini, the spaghetti squash, where you
Mm.
can take the knife and as you pull the spaghetti squash out, it makes like spaghetti strains of squash. You can use that
Mm-hmm.
in place of actual spaghetti. So now you have like a vegetable-based spaghetti
Oh,
and
right,
stuff like
right,
that.
right.
Like there's so many things that I didn't know that I
Mm-hmm.
probably would have thought. And also, I think it's because I'm getting older too. I think if I was 20, I wouldn't have even had an open mind. At 43, I'm starting to
Right.
go, why not? Why not try that? You kind of chill out a little bit in your old age and stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, because the end of the day, we all trying to live somewhat longer and trying to be more healthier. Because none of us want to be at 70 or 60 and struggling to walk and do any of these things. We
right.
all try to be healthy at the end of the day. But also, is it the plant-based diet or the vegan? I don't even know what it's called.
I
I'm
mean, it's
sorry.
pretty much the same thing. It's yeah.
Okay, the vegan thing. Is it a lot more higher carb-based diets, or is it not? You can still
Well,
hit your
yeah, you can hit your macros. I mean, you don't have to say, "Well, I'm going to do vegan, so I have to eat 500 grams of carbs." You start
hmm
switching your carb sources around. So let's say normally you eat let's say oatmeal or something like that. And you have like 1 cup of oatmeal in the morning, which is 40 grams of carbs. You can get up
right,
that morning and have your protein shake with your protein shake meaning like you have your plant-based protein. Put in
right.
like a half a cup of oatmeal instead, and throw a few raspberries or something in there. Still hit the macros, but have different foods. You know what I mean? Or
hmm
like let's say you normally have 20 grams of carbs for one meal. It's a low carb meal, but you normally
hmm
have a piece of bread. Instead of the bread,
hmm
you can have broccoli, which will still hit the carbohydrates. You should be able
hmm
to eat a lot more. So you wind up eating a lot more food. I feel like on the vegan diet than you would on a meat eater's diet. It's just a matter of
hmm
switching out. But as long as you hit those numbers, like that's
Yeah,
that's the easiest way to do it. You have MyFitnessPal, you hit the numbers, you're good to
right.
go. If you're trying to do it on your own and figure it out, like write it down and look in a book, it's
Oh,
it's
it's
such a
worse.
pain in the ass. People usually give up. But now that app has made it so easy for people to just jump right
It's
in and
true.
get going. Like you just
Yeah.
have to hit the numbers. But I mean, as long as you get a plant-based protein powder on you, you shouldn't have any
hmm
problem hitting those numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I do drink a lot of protein during the day as well. Because we are always on the go and the move, and
Yeah.
I probably eat like 3 meals, and I have 3 or 4 shakes a day, which I know it's a lot,
Mm.
but it works for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It doesn't mean it's going to work for anybody else, but for my schedule and for my everything, it just works great. So I don't mind it at all.
The shakes never, a lot of people think that shakes are supplements. Well, when you really break it down, like when I write a supplement, write a program for people, the protein powder is on the food list. It's not a supplement because it's basically dried up pulverized food. It still has macros, still has calories. It's pre-digestive. It still has vitamins. A supplement would be like, creatine. Creatine is one
Right.
nutrient. It doesn't have multiple assets to it. It doesn't have calories. So it technically is food. So as long as you're taking in that protein powder, you're taking in food. It's just that it's already pre-digested and easier to take in. And I couldn't tell you how many shakes, probably 4 or 5 shakes a day with 2 meals when I was younger because I couldn't eat. I was a skinny kid. I
Mhm.
was the opposite of you. I was a small kid, and I couldn't eat enough
Mhm.
to get big. So the only way to do it was to suck down those shakes, or it wasn't
Right.
going to happen. I couldn't get the calories in. So as
Mm.
long as it's working for you, I always say like I don't care what anybody says, just as long as it's working for you, just keep doing it. It makes no sense to be like this works awesome, and someone goes no it doesn't. You go okay no it doesn't. Like that doesn't make any sense. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah. You gotta try it for yourself, as you're saying. Each their own. You try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then you move on. You try
yeah,
something else. But that's the hardest thing that I could have. And I swore, I told you, I swore by the whole keto diet situation. And I was watching everything. Everything in the fridge was all about keto. And then until it wasn't,
yeah,
I tried something else. And I tried, and I couldn't, and I wouldn't say that keto wasn't working. I did lose weight. So when you think about it, it did work for me. It
yeah,
just didn't work the way I wanted it to work for me.
right,
And also, it's hard for the lifestyle that we live kind of I mean, you still can, but then you're very limited.
yeah.
And I was just tired of it. and I decided to switch, and it worked even better.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So
just keep trying things. I mean, right now we're at a point where your body's getting faster metabolism, continued progress. The idea
right.
is to not hit a plateau. You know what I mean? If you're hitting a
Yes.
plateau, either the planning kind of went wrong or the diet's not working or something is off. Maybe it would have been that, for some reason you're a really big guy, maybe your body just wasn't using keto. I mean, you can even do keto on plant-based. I know it can be done. It's a little harder
Mhm.
to figure out at first, but you can even do that on
Yeah.
plant-based. We're using, protein powders and oils and stuff like that to hit your in
Yeah.
vegetables and stuff to hit the numbers. But it's just harder to do, and I know a lot of people like they really don't like doing it.
Yeah.
So
I'm kind of all settled in with the carbs now. I have, and I eat pretty much the same food every day. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it works for me.
yeah,
And I love my new sandwich that I discovered. And I found great bread. It's sprouted bread. It's not even Ezekiel. It's even less calorie wise.
nice.
Uh, and I do that. I put a sugar-free jam on it, and I do organic peanut butter with turkey bacon, and four egg whites and five egg whites and four yolks. Man, I'm telling you, I eat this every day, and that's my favorite meal because I'll wake up in the morning, I'll do my cardio. I can't wait to go home and at the same time, when you look at the macros, that's why I sent you like last week. I'm like, is this bad? He's like, no, as long as you stick to your
Yeah,
macros,
as
you'll
long
be
as you
fine.
hit the macros, you're fine. We're gonna call it the Bulgarian breakfast. The
The
Bulgarian,
Bulgarian.
the Bulgarian brute breakfast. That's what we're gonna call
Oh
that
yeah,
sandwich.
yeah, that's what it is, and I love it. And to me, it's not even dieting because I like all these foods,
Yeah,
and I've got to that point that I substitute pretty much everything because anything that is good has a substitution with less sugar, with
yeah.
less this, less that, just because we're so advanced in the food industry. And I take full advantage of it because, as I said, anything with sugar free, I'll take it. Anything with that I can substitute, regular Coke, Diet Coke, all these things. And I'm totally okay with it. And I'm trying to tell all my friends, look, you don't have to drink regular Coke. I'm teaching my family in Bulgaria not to drink regular Coke. And I'm trying to tell them about all the extra sugar, and now they're making that transition.
They're
So
accepting it.
yeah,
That's
they
awesome.
are because I give them no option. I mean, you got to think about, my parents are what, 57, 58 years old, and it's hard to teach old dog new tricks, but when I'm there, I'm definitely like on it because it's easier, especially when you're 60. Who cares?
Yeah.
Because my dad drinks moonshine every night or whatever, and with that sugar on top of the Coke sugar and on
Right.
top of then sugar. We don't want that.
Now, have they had any kind of medical problems from eating like that, or no?
Well, my dad is big, but my dad also has a problem with his hips. He had one hip surgery replacement, and he got really scared because he was awake while they were doing it.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, and he could smell all the cutting of the bones and everything, so he kind of got traumatized by it. And even though he's got to change the other hip, he still hasn't because he's just scared.
Yeah.
Um, so as far as yeah, and my mom, she had her like share of stuff, but nothing too serious, thank God.
Which is interesting
Um,
because again, if that was America and they were eating the same type of foods here, I just feel like other countries it's different.
oh
There
yeah,
are things that are that are
100%.
there are things that are not legal in other countries that are legal here because they
Yeah,
harm people. So they make them illegal in other countries, but here we
yeah.
just keep consuming them.
Yeah, everything, as you said earlier, like everything tastes different in Bulgaria, in Europe, when we go to Saudi Arabia, whatever we go, everything tastes so di Here, nothing has like a taste. And people are like, oh, look at that tomato, it tastes so good. No, it tastes like nothing. It tastes like rubber compared to if you go to Europe or somewhere else where actually food has actual taste, when you don't have to spike it with a whole bunch of shit.
Right?
Sorry,
No, no
stop.
worries, man.
To grow faster. We don't do. I mean, some countries do, but
Yeah.
you taste it, you know the difference.
Yeah, there's definitely a big difference in the taste. That you can have that chemical taste when you come to America. Like it's
Yeah.
very. There was a girl who was a lifeguard at my pool one time. She was from Kazakhstan, and it was like her first day here. She was very very broken English. I said, "What do you want to do while you're here? I'll take you to do it." She said,
Mm,
"McDonald's." I said, "Really?" She goes,
yeah.
"McDonald's." Her face lit up. I said, "Okay." So we went to McDonald's, and she bit into the burger, and she was like she wasn't excited. She just kind of had this look like, "What the hell?" Like it wasn't what she was expecting. I think she was expecting something
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I think she could taste because she wasn't eating food like that. She could probably taste the chemicals in it. It was like, ugh. So
Yeah.
she barely finished it, and that was that. And I mean, that was probably like 10, 15 years ago. And it really got me thinking. I'm like, when I went to Australia, the egg yolks look different. I was in Dubai, the food was different, and I'm like, we go to Mexico, the food is super fresh. Like even the chicken down there tastes completely different than it is here. And I'm
Yeah,
like, man, it's different. And people argue, no, we have it, here. And I'm like, look, you guys can argue about the GMOs and all the stuff you want. It's just different. We have more disease here. We have more problems here. There's a reason for it. And there's a lot of more cancer here than other
yeah,
countries and stuff like that. So we're up on 45 minutes. But I didn't want to take up too much of your time, man. But I would love to have you on again when you have
yeah,
time, man. I know you're busy as
100%.
hell, man. And
Maybe we do it after I do the vegan tryout.
yeah, that'd be great. I'm sure after people see this, they're gonna be like, "Yo, did he do it? Did he make the jump? Be curious." But hopefully, actually, when people see this, I know people are gonna be motivated just by the way that you're taking control of everything in your life and getting in better shape and stuff like that. But I do think that the influence that you have in general over people, the fact that you have an open mind about the vegan thing too. I think people may look at it and go, "Let me go check out that documentary. Let me see it for
Yeah,
myself." And that's the whole thing. If we can make a dialogue between us that winds up spreading out to everyone else, they just wind up researching
yeah,
it and just making some changes. I mean, that's something cool
yeah.
that we did.
Just be curious. That's for everybody. Be curious and research and try stuff. Don't be in Bulgaria. They say don't be a horse with because in Bulgaria have these horses. You know how they
Oh, the
block their
blinders,
eyes,
yeah,
so like the tunnel vision type of deal.
yeah,
Like, don't do that. Open your eyes, try stuff, and see what works. As you say, in a week or two, you can get fat. You can always go back to whatever you did, but you
right.
have to try stuff. And it's one day, one meal at a time, one decision. And it goes for life. It goes for your goals. It goes for anything you do. You gotta make a start. You gotta try it. You gotta start from somewhere.
Action instead of sitting around thinking about it.
Yes, you can't just talk and think and watch we can watch the documentary 6 times. It's not going to make me a vegan. I actually got to go and cook something, and that's going to, help me understand that thing better. Um, yeah, and that's how it goes.
Oh, cool. We'll have you back on, man. I know you got to travel for Raw this weekend and then Crown Jewel. Travel
Yeah,
safe, man.
so we do Raw, then we go right away to Crown Jewel. We come back for a day, then we go back to Europe for the Europe tour. So this month is going to be super busy, and I don't know what the vegan situation is going to be in England either. Even though Daniel Bryan, he's a
Yeah.
vegan and he's been doing it, and he finds a really hard time when we're in the European tour too. He always loses weight
Oh, really?
because it's very limited stuff. Yeah, there's always very limited stuff for him, but he drinks a lot of like shakes and shit like stuff like that. So maybe that's not the right time for me to start, but when I come back, why not?
I mean, even if you just tried one meal just to see what it tastes
Yeah.
like over here and be like, like it might make you go, hey, well, I can't wait to get back and try more. You
You
know?
know what? Maybe I'll go to Whole Foods and I'll find one of these real fake chickens or whatever it's called, and I'll give that a go.
Give it a shot, man. I'd be interested
Yeah,
to know what they think. 'Cause I think they were pretty good. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll like it,
awesome,
and I'll
man.
stick to my macros, I promise.
Those numbers, man. It's all about the numbers.
It's all about the numbers. It's a game of inches, of numbers.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, Miro. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy as hell. You're on the West Coast now, so our times are a little bit off. But thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. And it's
Thank
always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, man.
Thank you, Jerry. You're the best. I can't be appreciative enough of all the stuff that you've done for me and helped me with everything. So really, really thank you. I love all your supplements as well. Sorry, I didn't say that. The
Oh, no worries,
metabolism
man.
booster, it's the best. Like I love it. I give it even when I gave a bottle to my friend. Now he's taking it. He loves it.
Awesome.
He's like, I can feel my metabolism actually speeding up. So it's good stuff, man. None of the stuff, the protein that you recommended, it's fantastic. Everything, everything, everything. And for anybody watching out there, you need a nutritionist, I highly recommend Jerry.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that so much, brother.
Of course.
We'll talk to you soon, man. Travel safe.
Yes, sir.